Hi there, I'm Aman from DBS Alwani Ramachor and you're watching PTO classes. So I'm back with another lesson from grade 9th English, and in the last video we have started the chapter Packing. The author of Packing is Jerome K. Jerome, and he is one of the main character of the story. And this is an excerpt. I have already told you what an excerpt is. Excerpt from the novel Three Men in a Boat. Okay, so this was the story written by Jerome, and we are seeing a very small part of that novel Three Men in a Boat. So who are those three men? First, of course, Jerome. Second, who? George. Third, Harris. So Jerome, George and Harris. These are the three men involved in our story. And what did they do? They were packing. And why do we pack? We pack to go on a trip, on a tour, on a voyage. So they are also moving on a voyage, and they are moving in a boat. So they have to go through a boat, but for that they are packing their things. And while packing, many interesting incidents happen. For example, Jerome, being a very leader kind of a person, he volunteers to pack, and his friends, they just relax, George and Harris, and they make fun of him. What happened with Jerome? Every time he is doing packing, what happens? He forgets something, and here also he forgets his toothbrush. So what he thought, that his toothbrush is not inside the bag. So for that he opened the bag and he searched for his toothbrush, which was inside the boot. And then he incidentally left his spectacles inside the bag. So this was a scheme of things that happened while packing. So it was a very humorous thing that happened with Jerome. And Harris and George, they made fun of Jerome. They didn't help, they just relaxed and they made fun of our main character Jerome. So now what is happening? Harris and George, they are saying that, okay, they folded their sleeves and they said, let us pack and you relax. And Jerome, he said, okay, let's see what Harris and George can come up with, and I will relax and they will do the rest of packing. So by far it is clear. Now we are going to conclude our chapter while seeing that whether Harris and George packed the things correctly, whether Jerome is satisfied, or George and Harris, they irritate Jerome further. Okay, so I am Aman, and let's see what happens in the chapter.
Okay, so we are starting the second half of packing, and in the last video we have already seen that how George and Harris, when they volunteered to pack and give Jerome a little bit of rest. So what happened? They broke the cup, and now we will see that what more destruction they did. So, and then it was George's turn, and he trod on the butter. Trod means stepped on. Okay, in the previous in one of the previous poems, the poem that we did in the starting, the road not taken, there was a word trodden. Okay, trodden is the past participle of tread, and trod is the past tense of tread. So they stepped on. Okay, trodden means to put your feet by force, and trod on means stepped on. Okay, so now Harris, when he broke the cup, now it was the turn of George, and what he did, he trod on, he stepped on the butter. And what you all are aware that butter is very slippery. So what happened when he stepped on it? You can easily guess that what would have happened. I didn't say anything. but I came over and sat on the edge of the table and watched them. Who is saying this? Jerome. Okay, Jerome is saying that I didn't say anything. I just came over and sat on the table, on the edge of the table, and watched them. Watched whom? George and Harris. Here you can see a boy sitting on the table and he is watching them. See the worried expression that two boys are having because they have volunteered but they don't know how to pack. And one more thing you will see in the picture, that there is a little dog. Okay, he has a very important role to play in the story, the dog. We will come to that later. So Jerome silently sat on the edge of the table and watched his friend do their foolish activity, where they were trying to act over smart and they were trying to laugh on Jerome that you are very hurried, you are always like this, you panic when it comes to packing or going to a trip. So you are like that, and they were laughing on their friend. But now the tables have turned. This is a proverb, this is a saying, this is a phrase. The tables have turned. It doesn't mean the table has turned actually, but it means that now the situation is different. The people who were having upper hand till now were now in the other position. They were now on the receiving end. So see how Jerome is sitting on the table and the two boys, George and Harris, they are doing all the stuff and the little dog is watching them carefully. So George trod on the butter. See here his feet is there and he trod on the butter and everything, the loaf of bread, everything is spread on the floor. It irritated them more than anything I could have said. So George and Harris, they were irritated. Jerome said nothing, but his friends were irritated by seeing Jerome silently sitting there. Being Jerome, he has a nature to be panicked, but now he is sitting relaxed. So George and Harris got irritated. I felt that it made them nervous and excited. So they were nervous and they stepped on things and put things behind them and then couldn't find them when they wanted them. So what happened? Out of nervousness that now they are in command, they have to, they are responsible of packing. So now they were doing mistakes, like they were stepping over things, they were putting things somewhere and they were forgetting about it. So this was the thing that was happening with George and Harris. And they packed the pies at the bottom. Okay, the pies, the what we say, the delicious cakes, kind of a cake. So they packed the pies in the bottom and put heavy things on top. So what will happen? The tasty delicacy will get smashed, and it happened. Let's see what happened next. They upset salt over everything. It is a famous saying. They upset salt over everything. So whatever nice they have done, they have put salt over it. Excessive salt in any dish is not very good. It spoils the food. So they did the same. Whatever little work Jerome had done, they put salt over everything. And as for the butter, I never saw two men do more with 1 and 2 pence worth of butter in my whole life than they did. And after George had got it off his slipper, they tried to put it in the kettle. Yuck! See what they were doing? When they got rid of the butter from George's slipper, what they did? They put it inside the kettle again. They were trying to save it again. So Jerome had never seen two men fussing over a little butter before. It wouldn't go in, and what was in wouldn't come out. They did scrape it out last and put it down on a chair. And Harris sat on it, and it stuck to him. See how funny things are happening. When they finally got it out of the kettle, what they did? He put it on a chair. Okay, they put it on a chair, and Harris by mistake, out of nervousness, out of the excitement, out of panic, Harris sat over the butter that was got out from the kettle, and they went looking for it all over the room. So what happened? They were again looking for the butter. See, up, it is only a piece of butter. So if they have lost it, then fine, then be with it, be with it. But Harris and George, they are going after it again and again. They want to save it. We don't know for what. I'll take my oath. I put it down on that chair, said George, staring at the empty seat. So George was thinking that I can swear on God that I have put the butter on the chair, but now I don't know where it has gone. So where it can be? It is behind his back. It was on his bum. I saw you do it myself not a minute ago, said Harris. Harris also uh, agreed to George that yes, I also saw that you put the butter on the chair. Then they started round the room again looking for it. And then they met again in the center and stared at one another. Just imagine how the things would have been. Like you have seen the movie Hera Fairy, Fir Hera Fairy. Same thing. They were roaming here and there, and then they were coming at each other and looking at each other. The foolish expressions they must be giving, that they are not able to find the butter, and for what? A little piece of butter they are finding. Most extraordinary thing I have ever heard of, said George. So mysterious, said Harris. See, over a piece of butter they are having such discussions that it is a mysterious thing, that where the butter could have gone. Then George got round at the back of Harris and saw it. So finally George got behind the back of Harris and he saw it. Why, here it is all the time, he exclaimed. Why, here it is all the time, he exclaimed indigently. Okay, indignantly. So he said it, that why we were such fools, we were looking after it for all over the places, but it was always behind us. Where? Cried Harris, spinning round. So see, like he would have been spinning round and round to find that where the butter could be, but it was stuck on his bum. Stand still, can't you? Roared George. Frustration was coming over them. Stand still. George flying after him. Okay, see the picture. Very funny thing is happening here. With a pen, he is trying to beat who? Harris. Montmorency, mark the name. Montmorency was the little dog that was sitting there. Montmorency was in it all. Of course, Montmorency's ambition in life is to get in the way and be sworn at. If he can squirm in anywhere where he particularly is not wanted, and be a perfect nuisance and make people mad. So Jerome is explaining that what kind of a creature is Montmorency. Be sworn on here means get scolded. So Montmorency is a very mischievous kind of a dog. He always creates trouble for the people around him, and he gets scolded. Be sworn on means be scolded. Sworn means to in a polite way, in a humble way, to curse, to abuse, okay, to scold. If he can squirm in anywhere where he particularly is not wanted and be a perfect nuisance. Nuisance means someone who creates disturbance and make people mad and have things thrown at his head, then he feels his day has not been wasted. So Montmorency is a very mischievous creature. His only act is to disturb others, to create problems for others, to create nuisance, to create disturbance. Montmorency got into the hamper, a little basket, before Harris could land him with a frying pan. So Harris was trying to beat Montmorency just to shoo him away, like we do with dogs, with pets. So he was trying to shoo him away, but before he could have done that, the act was over. To get somebody to stumble over him and curse him steadily for an hour is his highest aim and object. Okay, so Montmorency like dogs to they want the people to catch them, to run after them. This is his highest aim, and when he has succeeded in accomplishing this, his conceit becomes quite unbearable. Conceit means pride in himself. Okay, his pride becomes unbearable. When someone is after him, he feels like he has got the success. Okay, he came and sat down on things just when they were wanted to be packed. So what happened? Montmorency, when the things were about to be packed, he comes and sat over them, and he labored under the fixed belief that whenever Harris or George reached out their hand for anything, it was his cold damp nose that they wanted. So when they are trying to get things, then when they are stretching out their hands to get something, Montmorency thinks that his nose they want to pick, and he puts his nose in between. It was his cold damp nose. Okay, he put his leg into the jam, and he worried means disturbed. Worried here doesn't mean to make someone tense. Here means to disturb. So what Montmorency did, he put his leg inside the jam, the jar of jam, and he worried the teaspoons, disturbed the teaspoons, and he pretended that the lemons were rats. Okay, he pretended that he was trying to play with the lemons, and he was acting like that they were little rats or cats, whatever they can be. Here the writer is saying rats, and got into the hamper and killed 3 of them before Harris could land him with a frying pan. So killed them means he would have destroyed the lemons. Harris said, I encouraged him. I didn't encourage him. A dog like that doesn't want any encouragement. So who is saying that? Harris is what can I say? Whom Harris is saying that because of him the dog is like that? Jerome. Harris is putting the blame on Jerome that Jerome has made the dog so mischievous. So encouragement was never from the part of Jerome, as said by Jerome. The packing was done at 12:50, and Harris sat on the big hamper and said he hoped nothing would be found broken. George said that if anything was broken, it was broken, which reflection seemed to comfort him. He also said he was ready for bed. We were all ready for bed. Harris was to sleep with us that night, and we went upstairs. So Harris would be living somewhere else, and George and Jerome must be the roommates. So Harris was also going to stay with them. Packing was over by 12:50, and they were all very sleepy. And George was saying that if something would have broken, let it be broken. We tossed for beds, and Harris had to sleep with me. Okay, whom? Jerome. They tossed, and the coin said that Harris had to sleep with Jerome. Do you prefer the inside or the outside? J. J here is used for Jerome. Mark it that J is used for Jerome. I said I generally preferred to sleep inside a bed. Harris said it was odd. So I said I generally preferred to sleep inside a bed. George said, what time shall I wake you fellows? Harris said 7. I said no, 6, because I wanted to write some letters. Okay, so they wanted to wake up at 7, but Jerome said I want to wake up at 6 because I have to write some letters. Harris and I had a bit of row over it, but at last split the difference and said 6:30. So 6:30 was decided later on. Harris and Jerome had a discussion about it. George made no answer, and we found on going over that he had been asleep for some time. So wake us up at 6:30, George, we said. So So George was going to wake them up. Harris and Jerome had a little fight over the timing. Harris was saying 7, Jerome was saying 6, and then it was decided 6:30. They told it to George, but by that time George was already sleeping. George made no answer, and we found on going over that he had been asleep for some time. So we placed the bath where he could tumble into it on getting out in the morning, and went to bed ourselves. Okay, so they all slept. Split the difference means they agreed to decide 6:30. So this story, the excerpt of a novel, is written by Jerome K. Jerome. An extract. Excerpt is also right, a little part of the story of novel of any book. So this is an extract like you get in your exams. Out of that you have to answer the few questions. It is taken from Three Men in a Boat. So I hope you have enjoyed the story, and I hope that you have understood the story. It was a very funny, simple and very easy story. I hope that you have learned something from it, that how you have to be more serious about things. If they three would have been coordinating amongst themselves, if they all three would have been working together, then one of them would have taken care of the dog Montmorency, and other two would have done packing easily together. So this is about life. When we adjust, when we coordinate, when we decide, when we agree, then only things happen easy. It is not that we can alone do everything. It is being said that man is a social animal, so we have to socialize also, we have to respect others' opinion, we have to put our point also, respecting others' views. So this is what life is about. We have to take every person's view into count, and then we have to make our decisions. It is not that we can say it is my way or highway, but we have to respect others' opinions as well. So this was a story that how things can become much difficult if we don't understand each other, when we don't coordinate, when we procrastination is a thing. Procrastination is a word that I am giving you, and I am going to ask you also. Procrastination means, you have to find in the dictionary. We all procrastinate things, but that becomes very difficult for us. So let's meet again together. Let's meet again in the next video, and there we will see the poem from Beehive.
Okay, so here our chapter concludes, and I hope that you have got the chapter packing. Okay, packing we have done in this chapter, and we have seen that how Jerome and his friends were packing their things while going to a trip. So I hope that every doubt is cleared now, and you have already done the word meanings. I hope that you will do the question answers also that I am giving you. Okay, so do the questions on your own, solve the answers on your own, and in case of any difficulty you can always call. So I hope that you have enjoyed this story, and I hope that you have understood the story. We will meet again soon in any such video. Whether it will be literature or grammar, I will tell you on that day itself. So be ready with your doubts, and we will meet again in our Google Meet, and there we are going to discuss the 6th chapter from Moments. So I am Aman from TPS Albani Lamachor. You are watching video classes. Thank you so much for watching the lecture.